This week, we start with inappropriate any number of ways. Like the cutouts of bare-breasted women in Bengal native attire. It was my late relative Jeffrey Carence who once instructed me that the Bengal woman does not go bare-breasted, elaborating that perhaps the women of the other Cordillera provinces have a history of the bare-breasted look. Both these points are open to debate. Be that as it may, at the Baguio Convention Center the other week, while with the set design person, I gave her some advice. If I were you, I would put blouses on those ladies there, and we talked some, to include about how the Bengal ladies' top looks. The set designer was quite glad to be guided, at one point telling me, Hindi ko kasi alam, though frankly, it is difficult to imagine the number of ways it is inappropriate to appropriate representations of a culture and do so ignorantly. The next day, Friday, I was SEC bound once more, and happy to note that the cutouts of the Bengal women they now had blouses, some real, some painted on. My thought of the moment, Jeff would be smiling from Mount Pulag, except that I saw nary a correct Bengal blouse, the one that correctly goes on top of the debit. Speaking of native attire, I was once in a play that was the entry to a Festival Mondial du Theatre many moons ago. I did the lead, a character called Inangbayan, in a play of the same name, a representation of the Philippines, our country. My costume, as were the rest of the women characters, was a malong knotted above the breasts. Our arms and hands and legs and feet were painted with mock tattoos, courtesy of Pentel pens. The men characters were also malong clad, arms, bare breasts, and legs painted to approximate tattooed bodies. The men and the women characters were representative of the native Filipinos, i.e., those the first Spanish invaders encountered in the Visayas and labeled Los Pintados, because their bodies were tattooed. The business of tattooed skin is a tradition among many indigenous peoples of the world, be they Asian, as in the Cordilleras and the rest of the Philippines and the region, American as in the Native Americans of all of the Americas, European, African, Australian, what have you. So anyway, after a run at the Diliman Guerrero Theatre, Inangbayan got exported to that aforementioned festival in Nancy, France. This after another run at the Cultural Center of the Philippines, CCP. Next week, we begin with the CCP. Erratum, in Baguio Connections 2 of this column, published on November 17, 2017, Who was my brother Maddie's classmate in Marinol should read Who was my brother Maddie's classmate at the High Baguio, with thanks to my other brother Dandan.